Thank you very much. I'm going to begin by going to cybersecurity because I'm very concerned in the budget. You mentioned in your testimony that that the president's budget requests more than what the president requested last year. But in effect, it's about $250 million less than what this Congress enacted in cybersecurity. How do you account for that? You know, taking your own testimony at the urgency of cybersecurity and how it's growing, how are you justifying a $250 million cut to an area that's so critical?
So I think there's a couple of different factors at play. One is the process and the timeline of which when the budget was created. Obviously, it was created well before we received our funding last year. But what I will say is, obviously, we're in an election year this year. So the plus up from Congress, and again, thank you for that, provides us enough resources. As we look at 21, which is an off-election year, the budget request fully funds what CISA needs to continue to provide that election security resource. And again, election security, while it's called out specifically in CISA's budget as a line item, a lot of what they do throughout CISA plays in and contributes to a lot of the resources and services they provide to election state officials as well as our political campaigns.
So is what you're saying is that the $250 million difference is the election security piece? Is that how I'm hearing that?
No, not specifically. There is a reduction from our 21 request from what was enacted in 20. What I can tell you is, again, in FY20, again, that's our election year, so we're doing a lot more activities this year. And as we look at 21, we'll sustain that. In the budget that we requested for 21, we'll sustain those activities.
Well, I would note also that you are canceling the CFAS program at the same time, which is part of that reduction as well. The other thing I would note is that just because this is an election year doesn't mean elections stop as we go past November of 2020. This is going to be an ongoing responsibility of you and others within the administration. Let me ask about the border wall, because that's obviously a source of interest. Can you tell us, you're asking for enough to build another currently 126 miles have currently been built to date of the money that's been previously provided for. What are the new capabilities as a result of this, and what are you seeing as the next $2 billion, and how will that affect this border wall system?
Sure, Chairman. As you indicated, we have about 126 that are completed. We have another 213 that are currently under 213 miles currently under construction, and another 414 in the pre-construction phase. The capabilities, as I often talk about, are night and day over the existing landing mat, 1970s era landing mat fence that the Border Patrol has. So new capabilities include not only the physical infrastructure, but lights, cameras, radars, fiber optics. The impedance and denial that the new border wall system provides to Border Patrol agents, again, is night and day to what they previously had. So as I tour the border and as I go down there and talk to our men and women in green, I ask them what do they need to secure the border. Resources, technology, and then obviously the staffing. So it's a sort of a three-legged stool. But when we talk about technology, the first thing that they ask for is an effective border wall system that, again, provides that impedance denial so that they can respond in a timely manner and then apprehend those that are looking to get in.
The processing agents that we provided for, and I might have the incorrect name there, but you know what I'm talking about, in Border Patrol, that we provided for in the last budget was kind of a new concept for the department, partly to alleviate what our border agents were doing, Border Patrol agents were doing in lieu of their frontline job of law enforcement, maybe transportation or other health care or something of that nature. And also to be part of a recruiting tool to maybe get folks involved in the Border Patrol so that they may want to advance to different areas of Border Patrol. How many people have you hired into that, and what's been the success of that? I mean, I know it's been a short period of time, but because you're asking for more in this budget.
Thank you for that. Thank you for Congress for providing that. Let me get back to you on an exact number of our hiring to date. I will say that those positions are absolutely critical. It goes towards retention, it goes towards recruitment. When you have Border Patrol agents that are fully trained to do their mission on the border but are instead at hospitals or handing out food or doing things that they didn't sign up to do. They're certainly not trained to do.
But you don't know if you have any, have hired any into that
We have.
position
Let me
yet?
give you. I don't have the exact number
Because
of those.
before we would
processing
refund it, we
agents.
want to make sure that
Yes.
actually you're able, this has been a problem for the department hiring into certain positions, so I think
Correct.
we need to
Okay.
carefully watch that. I'll ask one more question and then move on. I really want to ask about the soft-sided facilities, but I'm going to ask about coronavirus. I'll get another chance to ask about the soft-sided facilities. This is a source of great concern of so many people. I mean, I'm sure you all, as you're walking around your respective states, people are asking all the time, what are we doing? How are we on top of this? You mentioned, I guess there was a briefing this morning that basically told us that it's going to come more broadly to the United States, which I think we all expect. But can you tell us how you're working on the coronavirus and with who, what other coordinating entities?
Thank you. As you mentioned, the task force, again, led by HHS, did brief members of Congress this morning. I will say that we're working hand in hand every day with that task force. From the department's perspective, we are taking the direction from the medical professionals at HHS as they lay out a medical strategy to deal with the coronavirus. We are implementing measures to support that. So, particularly in the airport environment, the seaport environment, as well as land ports of entry, we're making sure that the measures we put in place, the medical screening that we put in place, are there for the protection of the American people. And that's really what the president has asked us to lean into. As of to date, we have about 15 cases that we've identified coming in from China. That's separate from those on cruise ships that have been parked overseas. So we feel like, again, the threat right now remains low. As we talk to CDC and others, I think they continue to expect the number of cases in the U.S. to increase. I will say over the last several weeks, it really has not increased. It's remained relatively flat between 12 and 14 cases. So the department feels very comfortable in the measures that we've put in place. But again, as CDC continues to adopt their medical strategy, the department will adopt its operational.
Presently, do you have the resources you need to move forward?
We do. So we continue to look at that on a very close basis. We report every week to OMB on those resources. Right now, we have them within our existing budget. We will likely have to move some money around this year to adjust for that.
All right.
But we'll certainly be in contact with you and other members of the committee as well as OMB if we need additional or supplemental funding.
Thank you. Senator Tester.